Good evening, everyone. As most of you are aware, my name is Blaine, and I am going to do a couple of videos tonight about a couple of roles that someone has sent me to, to do exactly what I'm doing here. And they're both roles that I have not opened yet. They're obviously sealed. He's got these in here, and what they are is they're rolls of Lincoln Cents that have, and while I'm talking, I'm going to go ahead and open them, that have paper wrappers around them, but inside the paper wrappers are some tissue wrapped Lincoln Cents, and they're old wrappers, so I'll explain a little bit about them in a second. But one of the things I want to make sure that I point out here is he's got strapping tape that he's used on them, and while I'm not saying that strapping tape is the world's worst thing in the world, I want to kind of point out the fact that strapping tape, if you've ever had a chance and if you ever get an opportunity to, take the strapping tape that you use, if that's indeed what you use, and put your nose to it once and smell it. And the reason I tell you this is because the chemicals that are used in most wrapping tapes, strapping tapes like this, as well as heavy duty, tape and stuff like that, tend to have quite a bit of chemicals in them. While it's not a big deal, over the course of time, if you're the type of person like I am, where you actually wrap your rolls with tape to prevent any air from getting underneath the cap and up into the tube, remember that whatever chemical is on the inside of this is now leaching into that tube. And over the course of time, I would be willing to bet that that's probably not a good thing. So what I use for most of my really good rolls of coins, and I don't have one handy here. Well, actually, I do. Hold on, let me grab it. What I use for most of my good rolls of coins is painter's tape. And the reason why is painter's tape is designed to have a very, very light adhesive on it. And therefore, the amount of chemicals in that painter's tape adhesive is significantly more minimal. So first lesson from that standpoint is if you're going to use tape for your rolls, that's perfectly fine, but use painter's tape rather than strapping tape. If you do have to ship your coins, that's perfectly fine. I do use an actual clear shipping tape of some sort. I buy it from Staples and stuff like that. However, I do not store it with the strapping or with any of the packing tape on it, just because it causes problems. So, first suggestion of the evening. Second, let's go ahead and open this so that we can get an idea as to what we're looking at. This is a roll of 1942D that's he sent me, and I'm also going to open this other one because I'm actually really more curious about this one than the 42D. The wrapping and the paper that's on these rolls is somewhat curious because it's just a normal, I guess if you want to call it, I'm not going to use a commercial grade, but I guess it's regular grade wrapping tube paper. The interesting part about it is there's nothing really special about it. This particular one, from when I can pretty much gather, this actual wrapper was probably used mid to late 40s. I can't be 100% sure on that. It's in really good condition and really good shape. This one, on the other hand, I'm going to point out a subtle difference to them. You can probably see it right off the bat, is the color of the wrapper. So as rolls were older, whether it be into the mid 40s, early 40s, so on and so forth, the rolls tended to be more red rather than actual, I guess if you want to call them, they were more, what's the word I'm looking for here? Crimson rather than actual pink. From that standpoint, this is one that is from the 1930s. I've got a couple of them here. This one here is actually a 1936S roll, and you can see that they're definitely more of a crimson color rather than a pink color. So that's what leads me to believe that this particular roll here is probably from the mid to late 40s, which is when they started going to more of this particular color. Can't 100% guarantee it, but that's been my general experience. So the other interesting part about this is the way that the printing is on this roll. You'll notice that this roll here, it says 50 cents, pennies, 50 cents. Interesting part about this is their coin wrappers that are basically sold by companies that produce the paper wrappers themselves. And in a couple of instances, one of the other instances that I haven't had an opportunity to verify completely is the Federal Reserve mints, the actual mints, Denver, San Francisco, Philadelphia. It was at one particular point in time very possible to go to the mint for tours, and upon the end of those tours, you could purchase a roll of coins. Any of the denominations that they had, you could purchase a roll of coins, and the mint would, if requested, wrap them for you. They would either put them in paper tubes, or they would do one better and put them in a tissue paper and then put them in a paper tube. I have seen this firsthand myself with rolls from the late 20s and early 30s. I have never known a roll to be into the 40s that they had done this with. They ended the practice, from what I can gather, in about 1938 or 1939. Now, this particular roll is a 1942D, and I believe this one here is a 1941D. I myself have personally opened a 1930P roll this way, with the wrapping of tissue paper and then the paper wrapper on the outside. I've also seen, and not necessarily opened, but I've definitely held in my hands a 1926 roll this way. I have heard of this practice as early as the 1920s, early 1920s, but never actually seen one in the early 1920s. So, again, what I'm saying here is these rolls are actually tissue paper wrapped on the inside, and that's what we're going to get to in a second. You can actually see the tissue paper on the inside. So I'm going to see if this is actually a mint wrapped tissue paper roll. The mint used a very specific tissue paper when they wrapped their rolls. It was a very lightweight tissue paper. It was very, very almost transparent to a certain degree. And a lot of coin collectors duplicated this with their rolls that they got, just because they felt, well, if the mint did it, well, then I'm going to do it too. So we're going to open one of these, and I'm actually going to put the 42D aside, and we're going to open the 41D because I'm much more curious and interested about that one. So interestingly enough, I'll put it away, but before I do, I'm going to turn it around and show you one of the things that I always look for when I look for real old rolls are writing in here, and if you look real close, you can definitely tell the difference between something that's written in ballpoint pen and something that's written in or with the use of what I would call a fountain pen to a certain degree. And you know, this particular writing on here is definitely old. There's no doubt about it. Can I guarantee that it's a fountain pen? Fountain pens were used up until the mid 50s, even possibly late 50s, early 60s, and stuff like that. So I can't 100% guarantee it, but we'll find out more about this 42D in a second. I want to get to this 41D because 41D is one of the absolute hardest rolls to find in a bright red color. Characteristically speaking, 41Ds, if I can find one hanging out here right next to me. Yep, as a matter of fact, I've got a couple of them. I got 3 of them actually right here. And 41Ds are actually incredibly difficult to find in bright red. Characteristically speaking, 41Ds come kind of like this. They come hazed. They come a little red-brown, as you can see with that one there. I'll put that one away and I'll show you another one. Very similar to what you're seeing right here, where it has color to it, almost a nice rainbow color to it, but certainly not a bright red color. And so I searched quite heavily for 41Ds as a result, and in all of my years of doing this, I would wager to say that the absolute best I've ever come is 3 rolls of 41D in what I would call a full red color. So if this one is full red, I'll be incredibly excited and happy, but I'm not 100% sure that that's going to be the case. So I'm already at 11 minutes, so not to make this video too long, I'm going to because it takes forever to upload then. I'm going to cut this video short, and when I come back with the next video, we're going to go ahead and open this. So now that I give you a little bit of background on it, I'll end the video here. I'll come back with another one shortly. We'll see you in a few minutes.